So, good evening, everybody. Of course, I think everybody in here knows who I am a little bit, so we don't have to rehash that component. But we'll just pick up today's number two. This is one of my favorite things. It's something that we have to deal with on a regular basis. Feel free to stop, ask me questions anytime, but it's really dialing into this. How do we track our macronutrients and how does that, work? So, the first thing I want to do is just rehash our what our macronutrients are, just so everyone's on the same page. Um, okay, so just so we're all on the same page. We have three primary macronutrients. Now, oh, that's one I need to show you guys how to do as well. But we have our proteins, and I'll just share my screen to keep life easy. So we have our proteins, we have our carbs, and we have our fats. So I'm just going to share my screen so everybody can like see what I have, and then we'll rock and roll, through there. Boom, 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 and boom. So share screen. Can everybody see? Oh, let me just see a black screen. This is questions.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So we have our carbohydrates. Our carbohydrates typically are going to be your grains, your bread, your cereal, fruits, vegetables. All those are going to be carbs. You'll notice that dairy shows up in the carbs, the proteins, and in the fats, because dairy does have quite a bit of, like, specifically milk has quite a bit of carbohydrates tied to it, but it also has some fat, and it does have complete protein. So that's your carbohydrates. When we look at our proteins, we have anywhere from egg whites and pork chops and tenderloin and venison, protein shakes, all on the leaner side. So if we're trying to control our fat intake, or we need to get protein in without getting a ton of fat in, that's where we go. And then if we have a little bit more fat, we can go for beef jerky and turkey bacon and burger patties and bison. And then if we're going to go for a fattier source, or the highest in fat, then we may go after ribeye, top sirloin, pork belly, bacon, all those kind of things. So that's our protein. And then lastly, our fats are going to be these nuts, seeds, oils. That's an easy way to look at it. If I just want to go after this macronutrient predominantly, that's where I'm going to go. So good thing to remember is that every 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. Every 1 gram of protein is 4 calories. Every 1 gram of carbohydrates is 4 calories. And alcohol, which we'll discuss towards the end, it averages between 7 and 9 calories per gram, in there. So what I wanted to do is actually share the screen from my phone, and therefore you can see how to create an account in MyFitnessPal and everything else. So I'm actually going to walk through the process of building, your profile and everything else in MyFitnessPal. So I'm going to create this nice demo account here. Where's MyFitnessPal? There you go, FitnessPal. Boom. So this is actually my account. So of course it's not demo. And I have the premium version, so it looks a little bit different. Sorry, as text messages come in. Settings, log out. So, I'll go to sign up. I always actually do want to continue with Facebook. I never use Facebook to sign up for things because if I change anything or whatever, but some people do. It's super convenient. But anyway, so I'm going to sign up with email. What's my goal? You just pick your goal in there, and it deals with how active you are as far as like your day-to-day stuff. So lightly active, or male, my date of birth. That'd be cute if I was born in 1983. Going way back. If you do press on it, it should pull up the year. I don't know, my cell phone is not being responsive to me at the time. Let's make believe I was 38 years old. I was born in February, which I wasn't, but just for time's sakes. So you come in here and you put that in here. Locations US, the zip code is 19904. That's where CNUFit is located. So you go to next. It's gonna ask my height. Men lie about their height, women lie about their weight. So I'm 5'11". It was just supposed to be a joke, by the way. And my current weight this morning was 198.2. Next, goal weight is 192. And you can toggle. I mean, we're in America, but if you wanted to go to stones, if you're in England, or if you want to go kilograms, you can do that as well. And then what do I want to lose? I want to lose half a pound a week. Sure. This is irrelevant, this data here. And then I have to put an email and password in. So I'm going to use Evans Jr. at cnufit.com. And password for this purpose, I'll use customer one. And it says my username is going to be this. And then you can come in here and edit your username. So you're not stuck with that username that it creates for you. And we sign up, it says you can't use that one because it's taken. So I'm going to use Evans CNUFit. And now I have my account, in here. So now that I have my account, it says, do you want me to keep track on reminders? I have enough reminders, so I don't need that. And do you need to send me alerts and stuff that's going on? I don't need any more marketing stuff. And then it's going to just create some randomized calorie intake for me to have, in there. So it says just based on my height and weight and the activity that I said that I do, it says this is what my caloric intake should be. Now, just because that's what they recommend doesn't mean that's what's optimal for me. It's just MyFitnessPal doing its thing, you know. So a couple of things that I start doing once I have this account set up is I start modifying it based on like our rules. So let's start tracking now, and I'll walk you through some of the things that we do that may be a little bit different than what MyFitnessPal does all the time. So we're just waiting on technology here. All right, so I just hit the backspace. It says you want to start tracking. It has a meal, and it says search for food. So it's very intuitive, right? It starts guiding you on this how to search for food and all this kind of stuff. At the bottom left, let me use this little marker so you can see. At the bottom left, well, now you can't see it. Stop annotations, go back. It has the word skip. So I can actually skip through this little tutorial and it'll pop me right out of it. And some of the things I want to do is I want to modify this data. First thing I'm going to do is go into my settings. And I'm going to change some of the things in there. Now, if we were giving you your macros, you can go in here and start, making some manipulations. You can change your weight, how much your activity is, but I can actually change my calories and play around with the percentages, So let's say my coach said, Evans, you're going to eat 200 and something grams. Normally he can give me the percentages as well. And then I can make some adjustments. So I can say, hey, I need to eat 2,400 calories and I need those macros to split differently. And as I go and adjust my percentages without the premium account, you can't adjust the gram number. It's $50 for premium. I think is worth the investment. That's what I do. You pay $50 once a year. It's kind of easy to deal with. But if you don't want to make that investment, then you're messing around with just estimating to the lowest the lowest like 5%, so to speak. So I can come in, and as I start scrolling down, you see my carbs are adjusting back and forth. You'll also see on the bottom right that it's at 85%, which it won't let me save because my macronutrients need to add up, which are the protein, carbs, and fat, need to add up to 100%. So let's say I had 30% fat, and I said, hey, I want this. Now I'm at 105, so I have to make an adjustment. So in this situation, I got to 210, 210, 80, let's say. and now I can click on the check button. So if you need to change your macronutrients, that's a quick way to do it, and then that's in there. Other things that I always tell, well, we did most of those kind of things in there. When you go to your site, you can edit your profile. Diary settings is something else. We were a little bit in there. Is go in and customize your meal names. So one of the things that MyFitnessPal will automatically do is just give you 4 meals. So you have protein, you have breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. Well, we recommend put all 6 meals in here and then modify it. So you can click on this and you just change that to morning snack, then lunch, afternoon snack, dinner, next, dinner, next, evening snack. And what this does is give me bandwidth, because even though I may not be eating 6 meals in a day, if I did need to get that extra meal in, it was pretty easy. I can just, add it appropriately, especially when you're working with a coach, they know what's going on. You also see customized nutrient dashboard, and that's kind of like defaulted in there because I only have the free version right now. Under diary settings, I like to set mine to either public or with friends. It doesn't really matter. I don't think anyone's trying to hack my food. So I make it public, especially for those that we're coaching with. You have to make it public for us to be able to see what you're eating, or you can do it with friends. And then you can tell it how to search, you know. So when you have the search default, it searches all your foods whenever you're searching for a food, and you'll see what that means initially. I like to keep that at all versus just specifically like a meal, but if it goes by recipes, it's going to start searching your recipes first when you're typing. Well, if you go by meals, if you're in breakfast, it's only going to search for things that you used in breakfast before. My foods is when we create a specific food, so that's when it's going to do that. And then I like the multi-add by default. So if I need to add things, I can add multiple foods at one time. So getting a lot of messages in here, so forgive me on that. And then I have my dietary settings set up. So that's an easy component in here. Reminders, I don't need that. Weekly nutritional settings, it just looks like a week out, in there, so that's fine. And then that's most of what I do from my computer. From my phone. Now, from my computer, I can actually go in and change the nutrients tracked, which is it's a really cool feature. Customize, so it doesn't show you here on the customized nutrient dashboard. It doesn't really show you it in here, but on your computer, you can actually go in and change that feature, which is really cool. So any questions on here before I stop sharing my phone and kind of go through some rules prior? You have to unmute yourself to ask the questions in case you're not familiar. Okay, so we're gonna move right ahead. I'm gonna stop sharing here, and I'm gonna go back to sharing, on this side. So, a couple rules that we follow is we want to keep our carbs, our proteins, our carbs and our proteins plus or minus 5. So if we go in here, you can see 4 quick rules is that I want my carbs to be, plus, or my proteins to be plus or minus 5 grams, excuse me. My carbs are going to be plus or minus 5. My fat, I want to keep it plus or minus 2. And the reason why is because plus or minus 5 grams of protein is going to give me a 20 calorie swing, right? And the same here is going to give me about a 20 calorie swing. And 2 grams of fat times 9 calories is 18 grams. So it's right around a 20 calorie swing. So even if I was over on all these, I'm looking at about 50 calories over. And if I'm under on all of them, I'm under 50 calories. So it's keeping me within the realms. By tracking my macronutrients by default, I track my calories, in there. So, and at a minimum, unless we're programming out, then we may say, hey, we recommend you have a little bit more in there. But as a minimum, I want to have 20 to 25 grams of fiber in there. Really, we like to look at your total fiber amount as a relation to how many carbs you're actually eating, but without specifically programming some of those macronutrients, we'd say at least, that amount. I say 6 rules, but they're not 6 rules. There are 6 kind of tips I want to show. So I'm actually going to share my screen again, and I'm going to kind of run through how to do some of them in there. So the things I want to show you, back to sharing my phone here. Where are you? MyFitnessPal, boom. Is how to play the game of tracking. So the first thing is settings. So then I just go to diary, and now this is my day. To know how much my macronutrients are, I can click on that circle in the top right, and then click on nutrients, and it gives me my goal from my phone. So even with the free account, I can see, okay, I have 210, 210. I have a goal of 38 here. And I'm really focused on, for us, we're focused on your protein, your carbs, your fiber, and your fat. Those are the major macronutrients we're focused on getting. This screen just here just shows up like how am I doing percentage rise and what my totals are in there. So the first thing I do to keep my life very simple is I start thinking of what I want to eat. So I may say, for breakfast I want eggs. So I'm going to search egg. And as you can see, there's a bunch of eggs that show up in there. There's hard-boiled egg, there's boiled egg, there's small egg, there's egg McMuffin in there. And I'm just going to pick egg. I'm probably going to pick the 50G egg, and we'll talk about that in a little bit in there, but I can just grab egg. Because I defaulted my screen to multiple food ads, I can now, egg is selected, it shows you here one item selected, and I can search for something else. Maybe I want some egg whites with it. And then I can see, okay, boom, I can grab egg whites, and then I can add something else. So for me, one of the things I like to eat is the Mission Carb Balance wraps. So carb balance, and then as I start searching that, you start to see it come up. The one I have in my house is 70 calories in there, and I can actually click on the item. And now they're doing a little marketing thing because it's my first time having the account. So I'm like, no, thank you. And it'll show me this is the macronutrients for it. And then I can compare it with the label that I have at home, or I can use the barcode scanner, which I'll show you guys that in a little bit. And you can just scan the label, and then you can verify, did the barcode scan match what's actually on the container? Because sometimes they'll change the macronutrients of the foods. Companies do that very often. And I just want to verify the information. While I'm on the screen here, I'm going to use my little annotator here. And you see this thing I just circled, that green check mark? That means that other users and the people they have on the back end are verifying it. Now, just because they verified it doesn't mean it's always 100% accurate. So what I would do sometimes is I'll just Google search, like especially with like chicken and other things in there. I'll Google search it just to make sure it's right if I don't have a label directly to look at. So, oops, wrong button. So, so then, so I can say, hey, I want that carb wrap, and I added it in there. So let's say that's all I wanted for breakfast right there. And now I've added these 3 items to my breakfast. I can still come into each item and change the quantity by coming in, clicking on the number, and then I can figure out how many do I want. Now, here's the deal. Some of the things we teach people to, as a hack or something to really understand when it comes to tracking your macros is every egg white does not weigh the same if you're cracking eggs, right? Because chickens are not just popping out these perfectly sized, eggs. So instead of saying I had 3 large egg whites, I'll just, whatever bowl I'm mixing it in, I'll just put it in that bowl and I'll weigh them out in grams. So as I crack boom, 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 and I'll say that. And I'll say, hey, I had, 90 grams or 100 grams of egg whites. So I'll do 100 grams of egg whites, and boom, I know I got 100 grams is going to give me 10.9 grams of protein in those 100 grams of egg whites. Great question. Let's ask the question, what about liquid egg whites? I do the same thing. Liquid egg whites, I'll weigh out the liquid egg whites. So I know this is how much of the liquid egg whites I'm going to have in there versus using a volume-based measurement, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I know like this is how much it weighs because I'm weighing on a scale. So I said I had 100 grams of egg whites, and without the premium version, I have, I can't like see my what's the word? I can't see my macronutrients up top. So I do have to go in and click on nutrients, and then it'll take me to my macros and I can see how I'm doing throughout the day. Because I came from that screen last time, is going to take me right back to that same screen, which is really cool. So I don't have to keep on pressing calories and macros or calories and nutrients, but I can just go back and forth and see, okay, how am I doing? And the way I look at this here is this is like my budget over here. So, this is my budget that I'm looking to spend throughout the course of the day when I'm at my food. So anywho, so I'm back over here. Let's clear that out. And oh, I'm still annotating. Like, why is it not moving? All right, cool. So then I know this is what I have going on for the day. If I wanted to delete something, I go, oh, I didn't want eggs. I can just hold on it in Android and just click delete entry. Or I can slide it back and forth if it's an Apple device, and it can delete the entry. I can also move it to a different meal that I have it in. You know, Also, I can copy this meal to another day. So I can copy this meal. So I say copy meal, and I can copy it to another time. And this is great if you're the type of person that maybe you like to eat the same kind of things, or it's predominantly the same, and you say, I don't want to search it over and over. What you can do is just copy that thing to another day. And it looks like I can go all the way to, back. I can go forward the day and everything else. So I can like, oh, you know what? On Saturday, this is going to eat. So I can go a couple of days out to copy that meal, which is really cool. And then for my morning snack, maybe I wanted a shake. So so I had ISO 100, the diamond shakes, and then boom, you see it, and you find it fairly consistent through it. So it's like, okay, this is what I'm doing, and you can see this one has a gram weight in there, but I can go to scoop, 1 scoop, and then I can compare this information by the label, or typically I'd scan it, and then yes, I'm good to go in there. So my K, I had a scoop of protein powder. But for me, I'm probably gonna have something else. So maybe I have, I don't know, some fruits. So I did some blueberries. And actually, I went to Walmart and I got some great value frozen blueberries. And then boom, it shows up in here, and then I can adjust the quantity. So I don't have to be limited to 1 serving of 140 grams. I can come in and figure out my measurements. So I can do by gram, and then I say, well, I wanted 200 grams of blueberries, not 2,000. And then I can see how many carbs it's in there before I even add it. So as I'm going through my day, I know, okay, I want to get in a certain amount of carbs, and that may help me get it in, and then I can add that item, to my meal plan. you know uh, um so that's how I add these things. So that's a little quick tip on how to add. Typically, once you have an idea of what you want to eat for the day and you get into a rhythm, it shouldn't take more than about 7, at most 10 minutes to do your entire day. As you start searching, MyFitnessPal will start, if you notice here, all the things I've added before shows up again, just automatically, my most recent history, which makes it really easy. um, What about saving the meal combination? So yeah, you can save the meal combination as well, and then you can pick that up and use it another day, as well, which is a great point that Alyssa brought up. But in my history now, if let's say I go tomorrow, So I can go forward infinitum, right? But and then I can click on this button up top and it just takes me back to the day I want to be in. So let's say I want to go to tomorrow and I want to do breakfast. The things are here. If I want the same items, I can just click on them, boom, and add them to breakfast tomorrow. So it makes it like fast. Like your first day is slower, the next day faster, faster in there. So that's something. When we look at other foods, let's say chicken, right? So when we search for chicken, we want to think about what part of the chicken do we want to eat? Do we just want to eat the whole chicken? No, we typically want to eat the chicken breast or thighs. What are we doing? And just to give you some little bit of education, right? Let's say we search for chicken thighs and have some chicken thighs in here, and it says the chicken thighs. And a lot of times you're just focused on the calories. This little color code that it has gives you an idea of how much of what it has in there. So because there's a lot of red, it's predominantly um, fats. It's with 65% fat and 35% protein, but it shows you how much it has in there. The serving size is one thigh, you know. But again, animals are not all the same, just like people are not. So I want to convert this to grams, and then I want to put how many grams of chicken thighs I had. So I may pre-weigh it out or predetermine I'm going to have 200 grams of chicken thighs. And if I do that, it gives me 24 grams of protein, but it also gives me 24 grams of fat. 20 grams of fat. If I don't want that much fat, I may consider eating a different part of the chicken. So I may go to chicken breast. Now, the default is going to be, so when you look at chicken breast, some say baked on there. If it doesn't say baked or cooked in some realm, it is the raw measurement of it. So we definitely want to record the way you do it. A lot of times there's this argument of, do I do chicken breast raw or do I do it cooked? Um, it really depends on what your household looks like, is my best answer. Now, the most accurate is raw, right? Raw is a little bit more accurate than cooked, because, you know, uh, um, depending how you cook the food and all those kind of things can affect the total macronutrients. The biggest differentiator is the amount of water that's in the meat. Raw versus cooked, right? We cook out the water and we have this more dense meat left over. So it's going to weigh differently than a raw chicken breast. But most accurate is raw. But yes, if you're bulk cooking, as Lisa asked, you're looking at for your week and how do you do that? Then for me, I just cook it all and then I measure it raw. I measure it cooked. So for me, I may grab the baked. So if we look at the baked chicken breast, and then I look and say, does that make sense? And so sometimes I may Google search chicken breast, but I know chicken breast is a very lean meat source, so it's very normal that that looks like a right around a good answer. Typically 1 ounce of like chicken, maybe about uh, um 6 grams of protein. So 4 ounces is going to be about 24, so maybe it's 26. That's close enough. I don't need to be like, and if I search other ones for cooked, in here. So that was that baked one there. If I look at the grill and I change this to ounces and I put 4 in there, I'm getting the same 26. It's just this one has this Mystique grill has some carbs in it, and it's probably because the seasoning that it has in there. So for me, I'll just do the regular baked chicken breast that's in there. If I'm really unsure I can search cooked, and then I can also add in like things like USDA, and now it's going to pull from the USDA's database. So it's like, hey, generic chicken breast, and then I have this in grams and ounces. I like to weigh predominantly in grams because I can get a little bit more exact. But just as a comparison, 4 ounces, it says here is actually more than that's in there. But I know the USDA is probably going to be a little bit more exact than others. So this is 3 ounces here, and we convert this to to ounces and 4, and it's 34. So raw, it looks like raw 1 ounce is about 6 grams of protein, but cooked, 1 ounce is closer to 7 or 8 grams of protein. So if I'm measuring it on my scale to eat cooked, I want to make sure I'm searching for it properly. And a lot of times people don't think they're getting enough protein in or not eating enough, or it's hard to get all their food in, and it's just the method that they're using to track. So you can use this Purdue one, or you can use the one that says USDA in there. You know, other things. Let's say I want some peanut butter, so I have some Jif all natural, yeah, peanut butter. And so I want to eat that. And then you look it up and you go, okay, cool. It has it in here. There's even a verified one. So you click on that. And then when you click on it, it doesn't give you a weight. But we know that 2 tablespoons is going to be, it could be more or less, depending on the tablespoon actually that I use. So it's not an exact volumized measurements, so we stay away from cups, half a cup, a quarter cup, and doesn't matter what type of food it is, unless I'm drinking milk or something like that. Everything else I should be weighing. So what I'd have to do to find a way, one with grams, as I search through some of these, I'm still not finding it. Instead of getting myself frustrated, what I do is just add the word grams to it. I search, and then boom, it comes up, with ones that have like this. I picked this one here, which is the wrong one. I have this one here that says grams right in there, and now it has grams as an option. Now, if I was to look at, the label typically says 2 tablespoons, and in parentheses, it'll say 33 grams, you know. And so what's more concerning to me is not the tablespoons and grams, because I may decide only to have 20 grams and I turn this to 20 grams. And then I know, boom, this is what I'm getting when I have 20 grams of peanut butter. So that's a really easy thing you do. You add the word grams, or if you want to search for something in ounces, you can add the word ounces. But we really want to stick to weight of food versus how much space it takes up. And you'll see this a lot with fruit, like, oh, half a cup of strawberries or half a cup of apples. But that doesn't tell me how much actually can fit in that half a cup. So we really want to do that. Same thing with almonds, a tablespoon of almonds. No, we really want to know how much I'm actually getting in there. Yeah. So we talked about the verify. We talked about that. If something looks awkward, then we should, like, double check it. So, for an example, if I'm looking at chicken breast and it says it has a lot of protein in it, I mean a lot of fat in it, or has a lot of carbs in it. Well, chicken breast is just an animal product. It shouldn't do that. So I want to go back um, and track that in there. So other cool things you can do, you're here, and it shows whenever you click on the food item, which is kind of awesome, you get to see the entire macronutrient layout of that food, which is really, really awesome. So that's something that's kind of fun. You get to see that. And then I believe also with your meals, so like this meal here, if I turn my screen, there we go, I can actually see the macronutrient layout of the meal. So this is a cool little hack where I can see breakfast has in it, this one is protein, carbs, fat, sodium, and all that that's in my breakfast meal. And it even shows you, instead of having to go to that other tab, just by turning, I can see how am I doing in relation to my day. So, this is this meal, and then this is the total of that meal, and this is, where I am relative to my day. So it's a easy little thing where you won't be able to see that when you go vertical, but when you go horizontal, you can do it as well. And I believe, so let's try tomorrow. Yes, like the one we did for today. And if we do it there, I think it has all the meals in there. Yeah. So it shows in there, on my morning snack, and it says in the morning snack section, you can see it says 176 total, 18 grams of protein, 1 gram of fat, 26 grams of 18 grams of carbs and 26 grams of proteins in there. And then for my entire day, it shows my entire day at the bottom. So just rotating your screen could be a great way to just save your step as you're adding foods in to see how am I doing. This is my total, and that's what I have remaining. My goal is my remaining is 0. That's the goal. The goal is to zero out or be plus or minus, 5 with my carbs and my protein, and plus or minus 2 with my fats. So that's a really cool thing in there. Other pieces in there, I want to add a food in there. When you go to add a food, you see it says, I doubt this is going to work, but we'll check it, is you can use your barcode scanner. Oh, it does. Nice. And I can scan something. So I have this here, and as I scan this, it picks up that information. And it says that's what the macronutrient layout is for the item. And that's phenomenal. Like, I have a bar, I have a shake, or I have, things, a prepackaged meal. If it has a barcode on there, I can do that and then just add it right to my plan, which is really cool. So I'm glad that was able to show you guys in there. So the last part is recipes, right? So a lot of times we go in and we decide we want to eat, a recipe. So what we want to do is put the recipe in MyFitnessPal. Right on the bottom has the word recipe, so you just click in there, and that actually shows their recipes. So I just do it just so you guys can see. It's recipes that are already in MyFitnessPal that you can go in and grab recipes for. But if you want to add your own recipes, you click on the tab on the side, and you go to recipe, foods, and meals. And this, you can use this to add in a custom food item. Maybe you searched in MyFitnessPal, you couldn't find it, but you want to add a custom food in here. You can go to like a custom meal and create a meal. We have several clients across the country who purchase meals, like pre-frozen meals that don't have barcodes on them, but you can look up online and see what their macronutrients are, and then you can put that meal in there. Or a custom food, you can create your own food in there and put it in the database. Something that maybe you can't find through the database, but you found on Google, and you can do that. But I want to show you how to create a recipe, because this is something I think people use often. You can grab the recipe right from online. So if you went to the Senior Fit site and you copy their recipe, you can go there and import the recipe right in here. So you can click on import recipe, and then you can go through that way. Or go a step back, we go to create recipe, and we can manually add ingredients. So we're going to name this Marianne's, I don't know, chicken something. And how many servings? You always want the servings to be set to 1. And I'll explain why in a second. And then, because servings can only be a number, and and then it asks to bulk import ingredients. If you do that, what it does, it tries to match all the ingredients that's in there, and you probably have to edit and all that kind of stuff. So we'll just leave it that off and go to next. And now we're going to add the ingredients. So then you can start searching for the ingredients. Now, if you have the barcode scanner, you're just walking around and scanning stuff, to put in there. But let's say it was some rice was one of the ingredients. So you search for rice, and now rice starts showing up. But you wanted to do raw rice because you have this rice that was uncooked. So it's a great example. And it says, hey, serving size is 45 grams of rice, and it's going to give you 36 grams of protein. And your recipe said to use, 2 cups of rice, which if you go and look at the bag of rice, 45 grams, it'll tell you how much is in there. So you want to do 1 gram here, and maybe you had 200 grams of rice in there. So that's going to give you 160 grams of carbohydrates, just that rice. So you add the rice in there. And then you decided you wanted to search for some chicken breast. There we go. Chicken breast. Boom. Search, and we found this this big chicken breast here. And you don't have to keep chicken breasts at grams, but if you wanted to, that'd be cool. So we go to grams, and I'd recommend that. And let's say you had, because you're cooking for multiple people, let's say you had 600 grams of chicken in there. It was a bigger recipe. It's going to give you 137 grams of protein in that. And let's say those all the ingredients, just because you guys get the point. Well, the entire recipe is going to be X amount. The raw weight for that recipe is, and this is good for like soups and all those kind of things, but raw weight is 800 grams. But then what you're going to do is actually cook the food, and when you're done, you weigh out what the food weighs together. So You go to next again, and that's your recipe in here. And it says all that food makes this one item. After you weigh it, it's going to change, right? Rice is going to expand because it's going to pick up the water that's in there. That doesn't change the macronutrients of it, but you want to know how much would be a portion of it. So let's say you cook all this stuff and it weighs out to be, just for my illustrative purposes, it weighs out to be 1,200 grams. And I would always recommend, don't wait like hot right away, especially with like rice and things like that. Give it about 5 minutes or whatever. um so you come in there. I wish I knew how to turn off all the notifications, but then you can say, okay, that weighed 1,200 grams. And I know that looks like nothing right now. You're like, that didn't mean anything to me. But what it did was it said 1 gram of this food would be X. So, which is what we're looking at. So you click save. And now I want to add this food to my diary. So I want to add it to my diary. And I decided, now we know a serving is a gram, and that's what keeps your life easy. So now it's a mixture of chicken, and I know we did add the tomato sauce, and we had tomatoes, and we had some peppers and onions and all this stuff in there. And the only option I have is serving, which is going to be a gram. And when I weigh out how much I wanted 200 grams of it. And now you can see the macronutrient layout for this Marion chicken something is 26 grams of carbs, 1.5 grams of fat, and 25 grams of protein for that recipe item. So instead of going out, well, this makes 4, so the portion size is 4 for the recipe. Just keep it as 1 until after it's done. Then you weigh it out, and then you can say, oh, I'm going to have, X number of grams of it, and I can do that with anything. And then boom, that's how much the macronutrient is for that item, which is really awesome. And then you can just add it to my meal and you rock and roll from there. So those are some of the highlights I really wanted to share. I absolutely love using this. It gives me dietary freedom because I know throughout the course of my day, this is what I need to get in. And then all I'm doing is eating away at that total number in there. So I want to open up opportunity. I'm going to stop sharing from here and then open up for an opportunity for you guys to ask questions or go through any of those kind of things that you may desire. Ask away, guys. All right, Katie, you're going to have to ask me a question. Lenore, I need a question. Lynn, everybody has one question or more, but ask a question.
Are you unmuting me?
Yeah, I unmuted you so you can ask a question.
Oh. I asked my question. So I don't think you really answered the question that I asked last.
Okay, go ahead.
So I know like you want to weigh cooked for your meat, right? But if you're going grocery shopping, say you pre-planned your entire week, but when you cook meat, like the weight changes, I guess. So like 1 ounce of raw meat is not equivalent to 1 ounce of cooked meat, right?
Sure.
So if like I want 4 ounces of cooked meat, 5. So how would I multiply that out to know how much raw meat to buy?
Well, when I'm searching, I'm either searching for the raw component or I'm searching for the cooked component with meat. Now, if I'm someone who wants to be like at the most accurate, I'm searching raw, weighing out the raw, cooking all of it, and then turn around weighing out the cooked.
I get that.
Go ahead.
So so like if I wanted to cook in bulk and weigh all my food and portion it out after I cook it, right? How do I know how much raw meat to buy at the grocery store because it's going to cook down and not be the same weight? Does that make sense?
So typically you lose about 25% in weight due to water in the cooking process.
Okay.
You know, now most people are buying, 5 and 10 pounds of chicken at a time because it's more cost effective, and things like that. And your chicken, let's say you cook it all today and you weigh it out and you measure and you realize, well, I have some extras left over. You can always freeze it and you have chicken, for later, on as well. So you can do that, which works out just the same.
Okay, cool.
All right, Lenore, what's your question?
Um, I mm, I don't have one.
All
Not
right.
yet.
Okay. All right. We're wrapping up here. So, Katie, go ahead.
Okay. So I come home and Dylan has made chili or something, or you go home and your wife cooks something. So you don't know exactly what went into it. He doesn't remember everything he threw into it. What's your best practice for tracking that?
That's a great question. And that happens fairly often, right? That also works for like events. Phenomenal question. I don't know why that wasn't in my notes. So that works a lot for when you go to a party or an event or you eat out. What you want to do is search out chili and be conservative. What I mean by that is you don't want to pick the lowest carbs and lowest protein and lowest fat one. So in MyFitnessPal, say you search for chili, and you may have to start using the volumizing measurement as a way to do that, unless you decide I'm going to weigh out and see how much I ate in weighed chili. But you search for chili, and then you just pick one that you have in there, and that happens pretty often, with people. But then as we dial into our habits, we, even if that was that one meal that was off, we're fine. It's just maybe next time we'll do a cute little chili recipe that we pick up over Pinterest or somewhere else. And then we know, okay, he made chili and this is what he put in it.
Cool.
Great question. All right, Marion and Lynn, not that no one else can ask another one. But.
I have no questions.
What?
No questions.
No questions. All right,
No
Marion.
questions.
I'll
Some
unmute
new
you.
stuff with the MyFitnessPal though, that because I have been using that most days, not every day. There's been a few days I haven't, but you did teach me a couple little things that I hadn't discovered with that yet, so that's appreciated.
No problem. And you said, what was your question now?
I don't have one.
No questions either. No problem. So I'm gonna end it here, and then everybody will receive this in their email, like we did with the last one. We'll probably get out to you a little sooner. Next week, we're going to talk about how we do the coaching through that. I believe is the next one. But feel free to go back, review any of these things, and someone asked before, can they invite like non-clients to these? Absolutely. I'll do a quick review like I did in the beginning of this one. Hey, these are your macronutrients. We talk about tracking. This is what's important, and then we'll go into coaching and all those kind of pieces in there. So feel free to invite someone else onto the web series. Is not limited to our clients only.
Good to know.
Awesome stuff. So talk to you guys in a little bit and have a wonderful, wonderful night.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.